Hey players, this is going to be a brand new segment here on The Josh Speaks. Every single Friday, I'm going to share a new story with you from my life growing up. And since I've been asked this question so many times, I'm going to finally tell you guys how I was able to get my very first girlfriend right after this.
This is the Josh Speaks. Watching the Josh Speaks.
So a lot of you guys have asked me in the past, when did I first start dating? How did I get my first girlfriend? What was that whole experience like? So I'll tell you. It wasn't until I was in my sophomore year of high school that I finally worked up the courage to ask out a girl that I liked. The girl that I liked was someone that I saw every single day, getting on the bus, going to school in the morning, and getting on the bus to go home. I would always ride the bus to school with my older brother, and I noticed that every single time we talked about wrestling, this girl's head would perk up and she'd pay attention to what we were saying, as if she knew what we were talking about. Sometimes she would even jump in and make a comment about what happened on Monday Night Raw the previous night, and that's what solidified it for me. This girl was awesome. The big problem was, though, that I was so nervous and I just couldn't bring myself to talk to her. I didn't know how to do it. Now, my high school was a little bit weird. We didn't really have a set lunch period, but we had different points in the day that could be our lunch periods. It just so happens that one semester, me and her both had the same lunch period. She would hang out with her group of friends in the lobby, and I would hang out with my group of friends in the lobby. Every day we sat about 15 or 20 feet away from each other, and I would just look over at her and think to myself, how do I talk to her? And then one day, one of my friends just said, dude, just walk up to her and talk about anything. It doesn't even matter. Just do it. So somehow, I don't know where it came from, I gathered up the courage to just start walking over to her. And as I'm walking, I was very, very confident, telling myself, yeah, this isn't so hard. Until about midway, where I started to think, oh crap, I'm actually going to talk to her. Trust me, when you guys say it's incredibly scary to go talk to your crush, I know exactly what that feels like, because in that moment, I was then standing in front of her and her friends, not knowing at all what to say. So I thought about it for a second, and I realized that here I was, standing in front of these people who didn't really know who I was. I had to say something to get each of them involved so that they would feel comfortable around me. Now, this is going a little bit back in time to when yo-yos were cool again. Everyone at the time was either carrying a yo-yo or a yo-yo ball. So I decided to use that as my opener. I asked the group, alright guys, I need your opinion on something. What is cooler, a yo-yo or a yo-yo ball? Each person in her friend group happened to give a different answer, but she happened to say yo-yos, which is exactly what I preferred. So when she said yo-yos, I walked past the group and walked right over to her and said, you know what, you're pretty cool. I'm going to sit down and hang out with you. I just want to remind you that this was not planned. I didn't know what I was doing and I was just kind of going with the flow. So I sat down with her and I transitioned the conversation from yo-yos to movies and TV shows, and before I knew it, me and all her friends started talking as if I was part of their group. At some point though, I reached a hook. That was the point where her friends lost interest in me being the stranger there and started talking to each other, leaving me to talk to her one-on-one alone. I had won over her friends because they were now cool with me being there, and I was able to focus on talking to her directly. And since I had her direct attention, I figured I'm here, I'm in the moment, I gotta do it. I ripped out a piece of paper from one of my notebooks, took out a pen, and told her to write down her name and her number so that I can contact her later in the day. And as she did it, she was doing nothing but smiling. I think she knew all along where I was going as soon as I walked up to her group of friends. But at that point, I had proven to her that I was confident enough to talk to her, to engage with her friends, and to ask her for her number. From that moment on, I called her to hang out, we hung out later in the week, and we kept doing that for a while before we became boyfriend and girlfriend. There is way more to the story, like why we broke up, how I actually asked her out, when I went for the first kiss, but I want to share those stories with you guys another time. If you enjoyed this story and want to hear more, leave it in the comments section below, and I'll check out what stories you guys want to hear about me. Also, if you're new to the channel, make sure to hit the subscribe button below. I put out a new video every Tuesday and now Friday where I share tips, stories, and ideas teaching you how to be your best self. All in all, what it took from me is working up the courage to walk up to her, even though I didn't know what to say, and just talking to her friends, getting them to feel comfortable with me, and then asking her for her number. That was actually a lot of things, but I believe in you, and I know you guys can do it. As always, love and peace.